Most roads take you where you need to go, but try to follow them around the entire planet and sooner or later the journey stops. Here's why you can't drive around the world. When you look at a globe in a classroom or on a travel map, the world almost appears deceptively connected. Continents seem like pieces of a puzzle fitting neatly around the curvature of the Earth, with only small strips of water separating them. But the scale of those waters is beyond human intuition. The Pacific Ocean, lying between Asia and the Americas, is so wide that even an airplane crossing it at full speed takes many hours to travel from coast to coast. A car, which depends on land under its wheels, meets an unforgiving reality at the shore. There is simply nothing beneath it but thousands of kilometers of open sea. Even if humanity became united under a single cooperative government and every nation agreed to support a global road, building a drivable connection across the Pacific or Atlantic would be a feat beyond even our greatest engineering efforts. The longest bridge in the world today spans just over 160 kilometers in China, and even that structure crosses shallow, sheltered water, requiring unprecedented effort. The oceans between continents are not calm bays, but deep and volatile bodies that are shaped by storms, shifting temperatures, and currents that dwarf human construction. Beneath them lies crushing depth and moving tectonic plates. We could attempt floating roads or linked platforms, but the maintenance demands would be staggering, and the first major storm season would end up destroying them. Modern freight ships cross oceans effortlessly because they do not need a solid surface beneath them. They ride on the natural buoyancy of water, and cars don't have that privilege. They're bound to friction and gravity, and if they don't find rock or soil beneath them, they simply stall at the coast. So the world, despite its apparent connectivity on a printed map, is actually fractured by vast blue chasms. The oceans are not merely inconvenient, they're the dominant architecture of the planet, dividing land into isolated masses that cannot be tied together by wheels. Don't forget to subscribe. But even on solid land, there's a place where the road simply disappears. Suppose, however, that a clever traveler says, forget crossing the Pacific or Atlantic, forget connecting Europe to America. Let's follow land and only land. Perhaps then one could begin in Alaska, drive south through Canada, go into the United States, pass into Mexico, and then continue through Central America. For thousands of kilometers, this journey moves across functioning highways, through countries connected by accessible road networks. It feels promising until the moment the driver reaches Panama and encounters the one place that has stopped every global driving attempt for over a century: the Darien Gap. Stretching between Panama and Colombia is a region where nature still has full dominion. The landscape is a mesh of jungle canopy, swamps, ridges, and unstable soil that shifts with rainfall and erosion. The forest is so dense that sunlight struggles to reach the ground. From above, it looks like green armor. Expeditions over the decades have attempted to scout routes or establish survey paths, only to watch prototypes of roads disappear back into vegetation almost as fast as they were cleared. Attempts to impose a road through it face not one challenge, but an interwoven set: environmental preservation efforts that protect biodiversity, local communities whose ancestral lands lie there, criminal routes that exploit the remoteness, and the simple fact that any roadbed would sink, warp, or collapse in the unstable ground. No modern vehicle, no matter how advanced, can glide across this terrain the way a road requires. A jungle simply does not allow permanence. In many ways, the Darien Gap is a reminder of a pre-industrial Earth, showing that there are still places where the planet determines the terms of travel, not human design. And for all of our technology, there remains one stubborn region where asphalt cannot take hold. And for a car, that global journey ends there, swallowed not by the ocean, but by the wilderness itself. And even where roads continue, human lines stop you long before nature ever does. Let's imagine a world where our fictional driver bypassed the Darien Gap by shipping the car around it. Perhaps they resume driving in Colombia and continue southward through the Andes, eventually reaching Tierra del Fuego. Now they ship the car to Africa or Asia. Roads exist in great supply there until they don't, because unlike physical barriers like oceans and jungles, borders form intangible walls based not on nature, but on the human story of conflict, division, and sovereignty. Political borders are not only dashed lines on a map, they're legal boundaries that are backed by governments, military forces, diplomatic policies, and historical grievances. You might reach a point where one country allows passage, but the neighboring one doesn't. Some nations refuse direct crossing between each other, some maintain militarized zones where civilians are forbidden, while others require complex permissions or visas that are sometimes impossible to obtain. These borders exist for reasons that will often stretch back generations or centuries, shaped by war, treaties, and disputes. They're enforced by guards, checkpoints, and surveillance, and the road may continue physically into the horizon, yet you'll be turned away even if the next strip of asphalt lies only a few meters beyond. This is where maps deceive. A satellite view might show a road continuing across a boundary, but a political reality clamps shut at that point. A human traveler can sometimes move through, alone on foot or with limited escort, but a vehicle is an extension of ownership, identity, and documentation. Cars require registration papers, insurance, and compliance with local regulations. A border that stops a human can be negotiated or circumvented. A border that stops a vehicle leaves no loophole. You can't drive where you're not authorized to be, and authorization is not universal. The world may be physically continuous, but politically, it's more segmented than ever. But even without borders, there are places where the earth itself will block your path. When people imagine long-distance driving, they picture comfortable highways or scenic mountain passes. But most of the earth doesn't look like that. The world contains places where the land refuses to cooperate with construction. In the Arctic, permafrost shifts beneath any structure placed on it. Asphalt buckles, concrete splits. A road that exists in winter will turn to marsh in the summer. There's no stable year-round foundation, and Greenland shows this dramatically. Its communities sit like islands on rock, separated by distances that never have been tentatively linked by tarmac. You travel by snowmobile, boat, or helicopter, not because someone chooses these methods, but because no other method is physically viable. Travel to the Sahara, and the sand is not a solid surface. It drifts with wind, swallows objects, and obscures pathways, marking a consistent route across dunes that's nearly impossible. In the Himalayas, the elevation and steepness create conditions where vehicles must move at extremely slow speed to avoid overheating or mechanical strain, and a single rock slide can erase a road overnight. The Amazon rainforest poses its own kind of resistance, not through dryness but moisture. Soil water saturation destroys roadbeds, heavy vegetation reclaims cleared ground, and humidity corrodes infrastructure with relentless efficiency. The idea that the earth has roads everywhere is a myth born from living in regions that civilization has thoroughly modified. But humanity only built roads where the payoff was worth it. Near cities, farms, ports, and industry, where nature is too vast, population too sparse, or ground that's too hostile, and the land remains unmodified. These regions form massive blind spots in the global network, territories where the wheel cannot conquer the distance. But even where nature would allow you to pass, human ownership can still deny the way forward. People sometimes speak as though the earth belongs to humanity as a whole, as if we share it equally, as if movement across it should be free, when in reality land is divided into parcels that are claimed by governments, companies, private citizens, and traditional communities. Every road is the product of cooperation, or at least compliance amongst thousands of stakeholders. You cannot simply choose a path and drive it. Someone has to grant access. Large portions of the world consist of privately held territory, fenced ranch lands, restricted mining sites, research stations, agricultural complexes, energy extraction zones, and more. You might know that a dirt track runs across that region, but you're not permitted to use it. The idea of a global drive assumes not only that the road physically exists, but that every landowner and authority on the planet voluntarily allows you to pass. The logistics of that permission alone are far beyond feasible human negotiation. Even if everyone managed to arrange every document and clearance and authorization needed, the vehicle itself remains vulnerable. A machine which requires constant maintenance cannot survive across the sphere of the Earth without resupply. A single mechanical failure on a remote plateau or salt flat would end the journey permanently. Civilization sustains the machine and not the Earth beneath it. Even fundamentally, the way the Earth is laid out undermines the very concept. Humanity never designed a road network intended to circle the planet. Roads connect clusters of civilization inwardly. They spiral, weave, bend, and converge around human centers of activity and do not form a ring. We love to imagine the Earth as one continuous journey, a globe that's waiting to be circled. But the truth is that we live on separated continents, divided by water, wilderness, and the invisible agreements of nations. The world may feel like a single place, yet the road reminds us that we inhabit a patchwork of territories that are stitched together with compromise. In the end, the reason you can't drive around the world is simple. The planet simply wasn't built for it, and neither are we. The world is full of mysteries, and we're here to crack them. Thanks for watching World Cracked. Be sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.